Hi, everybody. I am Darla Reborn, and yes, I am here to encourage independent thought and challenge popular opinion. Wow, it's a shame to me that we have come to view death as what we have come to view it as. I think one of the most powerful and life-changing things we can become aware of is our own limitations, as well as our unlimited potential. At the end of the day, the things that we don't know about, we fear. And naturally, we don't know what's going to happen when change occurs. We fear change because we have no clue what's on the other side of it. At the end of the day, we don't know what the end will be. So it causes us to be afraid. Well, death is the ultimate end that we know of life. Everyone that I know who has died, everyone that you know has died, um, they cease to be as they are. The relationships that we once had with them change. They come from close to far away. We can't quite touch them like we used to. And we don't really know what that's like. We don't know what it's like for them. And we don't know what it'll be like for us. And we are afraid of that unknown. It is so overwhelmingly scary. I think that one of the main attempts of religion is to soften that blow, and to kind of present um, some kind of knowledge or assurance of what will really happen. But at the end of the day, everyone who's told us what we know or we think we know about death is alive. So none of us truly knows what that experience will be like. So it's scary, right? Two things become very clear to me about death that make it such a fearful, loathsome thing to us. One is that the cause of death becomes something that we really think about, whether it is by illness, accident, violence, any the cause of death is one of the main things that brings us the horror we feel about death, the cause of it, right? And the other thing that's so painful about death is not our experience, as having died, but the experience of losing those who do. So what I understand about death is that we don't actually fear it. We fear the lack of understanding around it. And we fear and loathe the consequences of it. And once again, neither of those actually have anything to do with actual death because we really have no clue what that experience is like. One thing that I have learned is that one of the best things that we can become aware of and fully embrace is our mortality. The fact that we're not going to be here. We're taught to deny our mortality and to act as if we can cheat it and put it off as much as possible, and that it's coming later on. Yeah, I don't have to worry about that. Every day, you're in your career, you're setting up money, your money's going toward retirement. You're looking forward to that time when you'll be 60 or 70 or 80. There's an assumption that you will have that. I think one of the worst things that happens in our society and in our lives is that we're almost we're almost socialized to think of death as an aloof thing that happens when you're bad, or that it's something that you deserve when you've done a certain thing, or that it's a punishment of some sort, or that it comes after many years. I think one of the most unfortunate things about life is that we're taught that death is a negative thing. And I know that might sound really, really crazy, but the reality is it doesn't matter what any of us does, we all will cease to live as we do. I've come to see that death is just a part of life. It's a part of the life cycle. Everyone who's come to be, everyone who is going to cease to be as they are. That is a life cycle. That's a process. But what if by death life actually is enabled to continue? What if death brings life? If you look at the animals and you look at the food chain, at each cycle, each realm of animal or each level from the bottom to the top, the death of one allows for the continuance of the others. So by some dying, life is actually coming from death. And what if our deaths, unbeknownst to us, are actually causing and bringing about life? I just think that we need to revamp the way that we think of death. I cannot recall, and I should have recalled, that there's a text, I believe, in Ecclesiastes that talks about that wise people think often of death. And I think that there are a lot of wise words from philosophers of various beliefs that teach about understanding and coming at one with the idea that our lives will end. That is one of the most important things we can know, is that our lives will end. I will never forget, and this has happened to me many times, like before bed, because there's something about the surrender of sleep that's very much like death. You don't know what's going on around you. You're unconscious of your surroundings. You're vulnerable, right? So sometimes the fear of shutting my eyes at night and just going ahead and surrendering to it, I think of one day that I won't be here, as I just won't be here anymore. And it's a sobering thought. And the other week I was watching a movie with my husband, and it just like hit me like a ton of bricks. One day, the people who love me are going to be looking at me, and I'm not going to be aware of it. I'm not going to be cognizant. I'm not going to be touching them. They're not going to be able to feel as connected to me as they once did. They're going to be looking at my lifeless body. It just hit me. It was just like, whoa, this is real. Like, we are not going to always be here. But that's actually okay. One of the saddest things I think about life is that we have this concept that you have not yet lived until you check off all the American dream boxes, until you have graduated from, K through 12, until you've gotten that college diploma or gotten into your career, had a family, 2.5 children, you're known in your career, that you have not lived. There are parents right now who have buried, are looking at and being aware of the mortality of their infants, their infant children, their preborn children, children who maybe have only lived 5 years. And they're feeling as if the lives of their children were not lived. I've heard people say that before their lives even began, that it was taken away, as if life only happens until you achieve certain things that society says make life worth living. But how many people do we know of, and that we may know, who have achieved these accomplishments according to the Western world that make life worth living, who aren't even in touch with life, who aren't even living moment to moment with a sense of connectedness and presence in the moment. Life is not about how many checks you make. There are children who have not lived a year, who have truly lived each moment of that 1 year that they may have had, of that 1 or 2 hours they may have had with their parents before they left. Children truly know how to live and be present in each moment. It's something about, as we age, that we become distracted by things and possessions and what we're taught are values that really make life worth living, that may or may not even resonate with us personally, but we're taught that we'll get the approval of society once we have these things. We really do think that is life. That's not life. In fact, the greatest tragedy of life is not death. It's the fear of life. It's being overwhelmed, locked down, limited by your own fears. Not allowing yourself, your soul, to live its true purpose, which to me is connectedness. Connectedness to the earth, connectedness to other people, connectedness with itself. We don't listen to our own inner voice. We have no sense of connectedness with what we truly want to do and be. That is death. That is the enemy of life. Not breathing anymore is not the enemy of life. That's just the reality of the experience of life. That's the circle of life. But the enemy and the most grievous thing about life is to actually exist and to never live. So the question is, how will you live your life? How would you live your life if you knew that you only had 5 years left? How would you live your life if you knew that you only had five weeks left or 5 days? What would you say to the people you love the most? How would you greet strangers? How would you function in your work? How would you interact with your family members? How would you respond to disappointment if you knew you only had 5 months left? Would you get distracted by frivolous things and superficial things like, your mere appearance? Or would you be looking and seeking connectedness with people around you? What would you want to do? The only truth is that all you have is this very moment. That's all you got, is this moment. What will you do with this moment? This is a privilege. We don't realize that it's not even about the destination. It's about the journey. The journey is the life. It's not even about becoming or one day. It's about right now. What are you doing and being in this moment? Are you making this count? Because it doesn't matter if it'll count later. If it's not counting now, I think we do our own selves a disservice to think that life is not well lived until later, as if you get extra points for how long you live. It's not about quantity. It's about quality. And you choose how much that will be and what that will be, what that will mean for you. Life is truly a gift. It's a privilege, and it's not promised. It's not a guarantee. And a lot of times people think that it's depressing to think about death. To me, I think it's liberating. It's liberating to realize that there are limitations on me, that I have an allotted time, of which I really know not. Of course, we have a great impact on our deaths. Our daily decisions, how we live our lives, our lifestyles, our associations do impact the mortality, the riskiness of our mortality. However, we really don't know what those dates are. And you can do some of the riskiest things in life and have 80 years. And the safest and have 25. We don't know when that day will be. But instead of assuming that you just have more time, so you can put off it and kind of snub these current moments because they're not that important. That event that's coming up is important. That wedding or that reunion or that graduation. We're always looking for that future. Let's be in the moment, because that's all we have. And to me, that's how you live. One of the greatest disservices to life is to merely exist, to merely survive, to merely get through. I don't think that we were designed to get through. I think we were designed to thrive and to truly live in each moment. If you're happy and joyous in that moment, experience that. Allow your soul to experience that. If you feel sorrow, don't shut that off. Don't act like that doesn't exist. If you feel sadness or shame, admit and acknowledge what it is you're experiencing. That is life. To live in each moment and be in that moment. And to be okay with allowing it to be what it is. That's the only way you can move from one moment to the next, is by embracing the moment. I just hope to emphasize the point that I've come to see, which is death is really not the enemy. It's really not. I was born, and one day I'll die. That's just a fact of life. It's not a doom, or we decide what that is. And the way that we live our lives, I think one of the greatest services we can do to our loved ones and friends who have preceded us in death is to recall and to remember not how they died, but how they lived. That is what counted. What did they teach you about the value of life? I don't care what it was. We have a tendency to want to make and pretty up everything people did. Some of it was ugly. Some of it was a mess. It was a part of their journey. What did you learn from it? Did you learn to avoid certain decisions, to make decisions that resonate with your personal values? What did you learn from those who have preceded you in death about their lives? And what then can you apply in your life to make it a true living? That's all I have to say. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that that you're inspired as I was when the thought came to my mind to truly live and to be in the moment you're in. This isn't depressing talk. This isn't sad. This is real. And nothing's more liberating than realizing that each moment matters and each moment counts. What will you make it? It's an exciting thing. It's all in your power. I am Darla Reborn. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe. I'll be talking a little bit more later about how often I will be doing my videos from this point forward. Thank you so much for hearing me, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.